everyone. You're watching Cricket Next. Well, IPL 2023 auction is just around the corner. Whenever we talk about IPL, it brings in a different sort of excitement. But in this auction that's going to happen on December 23, it'll be a lot more fun and a lot more excitement is there on December 23 waiting for all of us. You know why? Because there are a few teams that brings in more interest to such kind of auctions. And when I talk about these teams, the first name that comes to my mind is Sunrisers Hyderabad. When we talk about Sunrisers Hyderabad, especially in context to the retention day, they released two important players, and we will talk about those players in detail with Saikat Ghosh. Hello, Saikat.
Hello, Suramya. Thanks for having me. It's going to be an interesting chat.
Absolutely, Saikat, because there's so much of excitement, especially when we're talking about Sunrisers Hyderabad. This team brought in so many different things on the retention day. Nobody had expected that they will release such key players. But before talking about those two key players, I'm trying to build up, the suspense of the key players and who this team will be eyeing in the upcoming auction. Let's just quickly have a look at what their performance was in the IPL 2022. Well, talking about performance cycles, they finished that tournament on number 8 position. What do you have to say? What were the problems with this team in IPL 2022?
Like last time we were mentioning Delhi Capitals and how they lost their momentum. This is the same thing that happened to Sunrisers Hyderabad as well. Let's not forget that every team plays around 14 matches in the whole season, and to maintain your momentum throughout the 14 games is pretty hard. That's what happened to Sunrisers Hyderabad. They lost the first two matches, started to win the next five match, and then suddenly their train was off the tracks and they started to lose games. So I think SRH, if you look by these numbers, you can clearly see that they played 14 matches, won 6, lost 8. But personally, as a person who has covered the IPL this season, I would say these numbers doesn't do justice to the talent SRH had this time. They had a number of positives in Umran Malik, Aiden Markram, and Rahul Tripathi. Let's not forget Rahul Tripathi was the find of the season and then was fast tracked into the Indian team just depending on this performance for SRH.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. So, while we have such great talent in this team, one thing we really also want to look at is the players released on the retention day. When we talk about all these players, the two key names over here are Kane Williamson and Nicholas Purin. You were just talking about how great this team had, how great this team was in IPL 2022 and what kind of talent they had. But now, when they have released two important players from their team, now, what will be the change in the dynamics of this team?
Definitely, as you mentioned, they have released their captain. So they now had to take, I think that should be their top priority to get a captain back. Now they can either go for Kane Williamson in the auction and buy him back, or they can have a captain in Ben Stokes. Let's not forget that SRH team also need a good all-rounder. So by buying a Ben Stokes, they not only buy a captain, they also buy a great all-rounder who would actually, bat in the middle order and can give you those overs. And also, we all know that what a great fielder Ben Stokes is. So, full value for money. I think there are a lot of people who are saying that Ben Stokes will play for LSG. I mean, my point is that a lot of teams are eyeing Ben Stokes, but SRH are the prime contenders because the amount of money they have. They have 42
Absolutely.
crores in their kitty, and because of that reason, SRH are the favorites to buy Ben Stokes. I think if you ask me one thing that they really, looking forward to the IPL, I'll say they'll have to buy Ben Stokes, get a captain, get a good all-rounder, or they can also buy Mayank Agarwal. They can have a
Yeah.
captain in Mayank Agarwal, but then they'll also have to buy a guy like Sam Curran just to, because they lack a good new ball bowler alongside Bhuvneshwar Kumar. So by buying Sam Curran, they'll have a new ball bowler and Mayank Agarwal as a captain. So there are two ways to go about it. Either you buy Ben Stokes, who can give you a captaincy role as well as an all-rounder, and or either you can have a Mayank Agarwal as a captain and then buy someone like Sam Curran just to share the new ball duties with Bhuvaneshwar Kumar.
Absolutely. But Sargat, what could be the possible reasons, why SRH released Kane Williamson and Nicholas Puran? Both were the captains at that point of time. Both were the captains of their national sides. Kane Williamson is still leading New Zealand side. So when two such key players who are leading their national sides and then they come to play IPL and then an IPL team releases them, what kind of effect does that put on the team as well?
Definitely, you have to understand that SRH is one of the worst performing IPL teams ever. Now, if you don't believe me, go back, check with Google. I mean, SRH, Punjab Kings, these teams haven't performed at all. Even
Yeah.
Punjab Kings have reached finals, but SRH hasn't. So you clearly know the team management has given likes of Kane Williamson a long run, but then when you are not scoring runs, not leading the team at some point of time, let's not forget this is franchise cricket. A lot of money is being invested, and you have to answer your investors just like a business. So you cannot give someone a long run than this. You have pushed Kane Williamson for a season, but then after some point of time, the owners have to ask, okay, I'm backing this guy, I'm investing so much money, what's the return on it? That is the reason they have pushed him out. And let's not forget, they are vastly inconsistent. I mean, teams like DC, Delhi Capitals have upped their game. LSG, GT, these are the teams who are playing the first season and they upped their game. They played so beautiful cricket. And look at SRH. They are there right from the start, and yet they cannot close out matches. I think that is the same reason that owners became ruthless for the very first time and showed the players the door.
Yeah, right. So when we talk about, what kind of talent this team has, but obviously, whatever the talents this team has, they are not producing the results. So in that case, it also becomes important to understand who all they have retained in this time. So now, looking at the players, Saikat, we have Rahul Tripathi. You were talking about him just a while ago. And then we have Glenn Phillips. Glenn Phillips, everybody knows what he has done so far, but Saikat, there are certain players who are, the newbies, or we can say that they are really interesting, the youngsters. Especially talking about Abhishek Sharma, he was pretty decent in IPL 2022, and then we have Umran Malik. So keeping in point all these players, what kind of a team SRH will be looking forward to make in IPL 2023 auction?
I think a lot of players were let go, like Kane Williamson and all, but I would say they still have retained the core of the side. Like, look at the players like Rahul Tripathi. You have got a Glenn Phillips, great addition to the side, Abhishek Sharma, and Aiden Markram. So these are the players who play in the middle order. So your middle order stays intact. You just need a good middle order batter after maybe Aiden Markram, because at number 3, 4, you have got your things sorted with Rahul Tripathi and Aiden Markram. Now you have got Glenn Phillips as well. So I'll say they have retained the promising youngsters. So that's a good decision to go forward to. But as I said, then they need a captain and an all rounder to make things right here.
Absolutely. And a while ago, you were talking about how inconsistent this team is. So, just one point in mind that, the SRH team won the IPL in 2016. But since then, how many changes they have done in this team? Remember last season, there were so many changes and discussions around the captaincy, and all those times when David Warner was there, he was benched. Then Kane Williamson came in. Kane Williamson is now again released. So, in such cases, Saikat, what kind of players a team thinks of buying in auction? You talked about Ben Stokes. Fine, it's fine. But are you looking for a fixed captain like we see in the other franchises? Like if you see CSK, you see RCB. Now, obviously, in RCB, the captain Virat Kohli has stepped down, but they were consistent with the captain. Now, in terms of SRH, they have never been consistent with the captain. So if they're looking in to buy in a player like Ben Stokes, are they looking in terms of long, gains, or it's just for this season?
It has to be for the long term option, because Ben Stokes, let's not forget, he has age on his side. So very sure Ben Stokes becomes a prime contender, because obviously the all round talent he has, and he has got age on his side. So definitely it has to be a long term option. Let's say at least a couple of years before that mega auction happens in maybe in 3 years time. So they're definitely looking for a long term option there. But I would like to correct you here, Suramya. Kane Williamson, they have been there with Kane Williamson for long now. I mean, I
Hmm.
think if I'm not mistaken, he was the captain in 2020 and 2021 as well.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think they've given him a fair amount of time before
Hmm.
parting ways with him. And also coming back to this point, like SRH has won in IPL 2016. That's absolutely correct, but that was just an exception. They also won the IPL in 2009. But look at the gap there: 2009, 2016, and after those 3 long years, there is nothing, something worthwhile going back in the past and say, okay, SRH was this, that was SRH season. I think
Yeah.
among us, nobody can say that. So that clearly shows what kind of performance SRH does. Even if they play good cricket, it is not something humongous which stays and retains in your memory for long. So I think in terms of brand building, also SRH has something to learn here.
Yeah, absolutely. You are right on that point, Saikat, because finishing on number eight, especially when your team hasn't done really great performances in the previous IPL seasons, also becomes really, concerning. Last season, we saw how Mumbai Indians and Chennai Super Kings crashed, but nobody said anything big about them because they were consistently performing in the last seasons. But as you rightly mentioned out there, that SRH has failed to produce something really humongous or something really great. But this time it'll be very, very interesting to know, because I believe that the teams are made in auction, and then they, when they come on the ground, that's how they implement it. But the initial foundation is in the auctions. So what do you think, like, if not Ben Stokes, if any other teams buy Ben Stokes, which player they should go for so that they at least finish in top 4?
In that case, they should go for Mayank Agarwal, because Mayank Agarwal has been Punjab Kings skipper in the past. I think he has captained some of the matches. I'm not sure whether he was a permanent captain or a makeshift captain, but I know he has done some sort of captaincy. So maybe Mayank Agarwal could be a good option. He's a good captain. He's a batter, experienced India cricketer. And then, as I said, since Mayank Agarwal is a pure batter, you need to fill that gap with a bowler. And in that case, you got to go for Sam Curran. So if you are not taking Ben Stokes, then you have to replace him with two players in Mayank Agarwal and Sam Curran.
Well, let's see what happens on December 23 in Kochi. Thank you so much, Saikat, for joining with me and discussing at length that how SRH can build a good team in this auction. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So we were talking about how Sunrisers Hyderabad can make a great team in this auction. We discussed what all problems this team has faced and how the release of Kane Williamson and Nicholas Puran will affect their team's performance in this IPL season. But at the end of the day, what will happen on December 23 will be known to us on that day itself. But till then, you can stay tuned with us for all the latest updates, and you can also catch up with us on our various live sessions only on Cricket Next YouTube channel or other social media handles.